Hi, I'm Dave Boyt with the Potter Shop Hollow Tree Farm and Portable Sawmill, and I have just installed Norwood's wireless remote system. So that gives me remote control over the throttle, the carriage lift, and the carriage feed, which means no more pushing the saw head down the track when I'm cutting lumber. I can stand in one place, or I can move around anywhere I want to so that I can see how it's going. And also, if the wind is blowing sawdust in my face, I can just go stand somewhere else and still keep on milling lumber. So I naturally just had to make a video on how to assemble it and set it up and get everything working the way it's supposed to. Now we're ready to start the power feed, and we have to put the brackets on that hold the chain. And the first one goes on the non-operator side towards the front. That fits in about like this. A little awkward, but it can be done. There. Now we'll do the bracket on the other end. Alright, so there are our anchor points for the chain. Remove the 4 bolts holding the upright post on the non-operator side. And mount the feed motor. The chain bolts go on the anchor brackets. I added a second jam nut to secure it in place. Then attach the chain to the bolt with the master link. Just do one end for now. Here we have it. Remove the gear cover plate. Wrap the chain over the drive gear and under the 2 idler gears. So that's how the chain goes. Then replace the cover plate. Then attach the other end of the drive chain to the front bracket. That probably won't be too far off. Look it down, and you do want that chain. You don't want any twist in that chain. It needs to float straight up and down. That should get it. To install the throttle control actuator, first, remove the hand control lever. Okay, this is the actuator. That moves this arm in and out, which controls the throttle and the water. And it's got to come off. Control unit, so place right here. Okay, this bolt's got to come out. Right there. I've got it snugged down. Now I'm going to back it off until it just pivots. So it needs just a little bit of play, which we have. So the actuator pivots the arm in and out, and that replaces the hand grip. And there's one more nut that goes in down here. Wire the leads from the remote control box cable to the battery terminals. Red to positive. Black to negative. Alright, so when you're wiring to the carriage feed motor, the wire needs to go up and around, and there are 5 notches in the frame. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 that you can use to zip tie that cable, and then zip ties to the upright just to keep it up and out of the way so it doesn't snag on anything. And then you get down to where it connects to the motor, and the connections are pretty straightforward. Red to red, and black to black. Before you hook up the main battery cable, you want to have that switch turned off. There we go. The battery cable is the heavy one with the female connectors. It goes in the rear center. Throttle cable is a small 3-prong connector. It goes back here. Carriage lift goes into the front on the same side. And the carriage feed goes on the other side. The wireless remote is your connection with the sawmill. So let's get it ready to use. It's going to need a battery. So I'll remove these 6 screws. And be careful taking it apart because these screws can fall out. And what I like to do is there's a magnet right here, and we'll just put the screws on that magnet so we don't lose any of them. There we go. And open it up. So if you look at the circuit board, you'll see this end is marked positive, this is negative, and the positive end of the battery is the one with the smaller amount of metal exposed. So this is positive, this is negative, which means it should slip in just like this. Perfect. These batteries are sent out by Norwood with only a partial charge. So I think what I'm going to do is just leave this in here like this, charge it up, then I'll take it out, put the other battery in and charge it so that I'll have the spare all charged up and ready to go when I need it. And these are 18650, what you call flat top batteries, real common. And you can buy batteries and even chargers on Amazon for like 15 bucks if you decide you want to have some more spares. But this ought to get us going. And to charge it, Norwood has provided a charging cord that connects in right here. And you'll have to provide your own cell phone charging adapter. And now it's charging. You can see the light is flashing amber, and when that light stops flashing, that tells us we have a full charge. So I'll just leave it here for a few hours and check back with it, and when it's ready, I'll put in the other battery. Okay, you can see the light has stopped flashing, the battery is fully charged, and ready to take it out, and I'll put in the other one. So this will be our spare, and this will be the one that we'll use. I'm going to disconnect it for right now while I finish assembling it. The next step is to use the zip tie to hold that battery in place, because if you drop it, that battery can come dislodged from the holder, and then you won't have contact, and you have to take the whole thing apart, push the battery back in place, and reassemble it. So using the zip tie, hopefully it'll hold it and that won't be a problem. What that does mean, though, is if you ever want to replace that battery, you're going to need some spare zip ties and a pair of nippers to cut it. So I believe at this point, I'm ready to put it back together, make sure that ribbon cable is brought in so it doesn't stick out. Get everything lined up. And look, all my screws are in one place, ready to go. And we'll just snug them down. And I'll just go ahead and plug that charger back in and finish charging that battery, and it'll be good to go. And a couple of suggestions for you. One is to put your extra battery in a Ziploc bag and seal it up before you put it in your sawmill toolbox, and that way it won't bump against anything metal and short out on you. And the other thing is, when you're done milling for the day, just bring your pendant home with you, put it on the charger overnight, and that way your battery will be fully charged and ready to go next time you need it. All right, I think we're ready to rock and roll. I've got fresh batteries in the remote. Everything's wired up correctly to the receiver, and let's see what happens. All right, so we'll power it up. So first of all, we'll try the lift. And of course you can control the speed of it, so there's high speed. Down and up, that's good. Now for the carriage speed, and what I like to do is to have the speed controller all the way down to the slowest setting, which is stopped. Throw the switch, which goes sideways, and then bring up the speed controller. That way it doesn't jerk on you. And there it goes. And we'll bring her back. Perfect, exactly what I want. Now the last thing is the throttle control. There's full throttle. And there's an idle. So we're good there as well. Okay, the next step then is to run the carriage all the way down and then up, just to make sure that the cables will reach okay. Don't get stretched out and don't snag on anything. So we'll go ahead and take her down. And that looks good. A little tight on the water cable, but I don't think that's going to be a problem. And we'll take her up. And yeah, they're kind of straight, but they're certainly not stretched, and they're not snagging on anything. So I think we're going to be good. And finally, Norwood recommends that when you're done, always turn it off, of course. And even with it turned off, it still draws current from that 12-volt battery. And if you don't use the mill for a couple of weeks and the engine doesn't charge it up, you can come back with a flat battery. So disconnect that center cable that goes to the battery. There. That way you'll be able to start your machine next time you want to use it. All right, but what if everything doesn't check out? You try to use your wireless remote pendant and nothing happens. Well, here's a few things to look for. Check the mill's 12-volt battery by trying to start the engine with the key switch. If the battery won't crank the engine over, it doesn't have enough juice to power the remotes either. In that case, just start the engine with the rope starter if it has one, or jump start it. It'll take a while for the engine to charge the battery, but the remote should work fine as long as the engine is running. If the battery does crank the engine over, try disconnecting the cable to the battery and reattaching it. Toggle the receiver switch off, then back on, and listen for the diagnostic beeps. A single beep every 5 seconds tells you that the main 30-amp fuse is blown. A repeated double beep indicates that the 5-amp fuse to the throttle control is out. In either case, remove the front plate of the control unit and replace the blown fuse. I keep a couple of spares inside the control unit. There's also a green LED next to each fuse that lights up if the fuse is okay. If the battery and controller check out, turn on the wireless pendant by turning on the throttle switch and activating the carriage lift. If the green light doesn't come on, the wireless pendant battery is either dead or has come dislodged from the clip. If the battery on your wireless pendant goes dead and you just have a little bit more to do, what you can do is wire it directly to the control box. And there is a cable that goes to the bottom of the pendant into the control box. And Norwood recommends that you not use this as a long-term solution, but it'll get you by for a while. And when you get a chance, go ahead and charge up the battery or put in a fresh one from your sawmill toolbox. And here's the situation I ran into after moving the mill. Everything worked except for the carriage feed. Took a while to figure out that one of the connectors at the motor had somehow pulled apart. Well, I hope this video helps you out if you're thinking about getting a wireless pendant. I would recommend it. It's a good productivity tool, a good time saver, and it saves a lot of work and effort in running the sawmill. So if you have any thoughts on it, leave some feedback or any questions. And till the next video, I'm Dave Boyt, Potter Shop, Hollow Tree Farm, and Portable Sawmill. Stay safe, work smart, and keep making sawdust.